By 3 o'clock this afternoon, your capacity for sound financial judgment has already been measurably compromised. In 2011, researchers at Ben Gurion University examined over 1,000 parole hearings in Israeli prisons. At the start of each court session, judges approved parole roughly 65% of the time. Just before the lunch break, that rate approached zero. After lunch, it reset, back near 65%, then fell again through the afternoon. The cases were comparable. The law was unchanged. The only variable was how many decisions the judges had already made that day. Your financial decisions follow the same pattern. And the research tells us exactly why. Pacing, start mid-sentence, no intro graphics, no music swell. Dead silence before the first word. Camera change. The phenomenon documented in that 2011 study has a name: decision fatigue. It describes the measurable degradation in judgment quality that occurs as the cumulative load of decisions made in a given period increases. This is not a productivity concept. It is not a mindset framework. It is a neurological phenomenon, documented across decades of peer-reviewed research, with direct and largely underappreciated consequences for financial behavior. The professionals most exposed to its effects are precisely those whose choices carry the highest stakes: executives allocating capital, entrepreneurs negotiating terms, investors evaluating positions. The people with the most to lose from cognitive depletion are, by the structure of their working days, chronically among the most subject to it. By the end of this video, you will understand the neuroscience behind the mechanism, what the experimental evidence documents about its financial implications, where conventional professional wisdom has it precisely backwards, and the structural framework the research actually supports. Pacing, measured. Each clause lands before the next begins. No vocal momentum, this is evidence, not enthusiasm. Graphic, brain diagram, prefrontal cortex region highlighted. The prefrontal cortex, the region directly behind the forehead, governs what neuroscientists call executive function, the capacity to weigh consequences, resist impulse, and evaluate options against long-term goals. In the most literal neurological sense, it is the anatomical seat of financial judgment. In 1998, Roy Baumeister and colleagues published research that would become foundational to this field. Their experiments demonstrated that acts of self-control draw on a finite cognitive resource. When that resource is depleted through repeated use, performance on subsequent self-control tasks measurably suffers. The evidence was consistent across multiple experimental conditions. A parallel line of work by Mark Muravin and colleagues, also in 1998, confirmed the finding: repeated acts of self-control deplete mental resources in a way that directly reduces capacity for further self-control. The metaphor that emerged in the literature, used carefully, was of a muscle subject to fatigue. The mechanism appears to have a metabolic dimension. Matthew Galiot and colleagues, in a 2007 study, found that glucose levels were measurably lower after tasks requiring self-control. The implication is that the cognitive resource underlying judgment is not purely abstract, it has a physical substrate, and that substrate depletes. B-roll CUE, fMRI brain scan imagery, neural pathway visualization, Neuroscience Laboratory. What Anastasia Pochepsova and colleagues documented in 2009 is particularly consequential for financial behavior. When cognitive resources run low, people do not simply make worse analytical decisions. They shift mode entirely, from systematic, deliberate evaluation toward intuitive, heuristic-based responses. The brain, under resource constraint, takes shortcuts. In financial terms, those shortcuts are recognizable: anchoring to the first number presented, deferring to the advisor without interrogation, avoiding the complexity of comparison altogether because comparison requires the analytical capacity that is, by that point in the day, no longer available. Camera change. If this kind of research-grounded analysis is what you're looking for, subscribe. We publish one video per week: the behavioral science and neuroscience of wealth building. No inspiration, no shortcuts, just the evidence. Sound effect, subtle transition tone. Graphic, research timeline, 1998 to 2009. What does decision fatigue look like when it meets financial decision-making directly? Kathleen Voss and colleagues, in 2008, examined this in controlled experimental conditions. Their research found that decision fatigue produces a measurable shift toward impulsive choices, specifically in situations where self-control is ordinarily required. Impulsivity in financial contexts does not typically look like recklessness. It looks like accepting an investment term sheet without reading the fee structure. It looks like choosing the default allocation on a retirement account because the alternatives require comparison that requires effort that is no longer available. It looks like the acquisition that gets approved in a Friday afternoon meeting because everyone is depleted and the path of least resistance is agreement. Unexpected stat: in Galiot et al.'s 2007 research, glucose levels were measurably lower after self-control tasks, suggesting decision-making carries a physical cost that accumulates across the working day. Michael Inslicht and Jennifer Gutzel, in 2007, added a neuroimaging dimension to this picture. Their work found that cognitive depletion could be observed directly in brain activity, specifically, reduced activity in the anterior cingulate cortex, the region responsible for error detection and conflict monitoring. B-roll CUE, fMRI scan showing brain activity differential, Neuroscience Research Institute. In practical terms, the part of your brain that catches mistakes becomes measurably less active as decisions accumulate through the day. The internal error-checking system degrades in proportion to use. Bjorn Schmeichel and Kathleen Voss, in 2009, identified a further asymmetry. Their research found that individuals with lower baseline self-control are more susceptible to decision fatigue's negative effects. High-stakes professional environments, characterized by elevated stress, time pressure, and high daily decision volume, are precisely the conditions that compound this vulnerability rather than ameliorate it. The most counterintuitive feature of the phenomenon, however, is this: you do not feel the depletion as it occurs. Research in this area consistently suggests that people in states of cognitive depletion often experience something resembling decisiveness, because heuristic thinking is fast. The sensation of effort has diminished. But so has the analytical infrastructure that should accompany consequential choices. Camera change. Confidence and competence, under conditions of decision fatigue, become decoupled. The subjective experience of certainty persists well past the point where the objective capacity for careful evaluation has degraded. Graphic, text card, discipline is character. The conventional professional narrative frames financial discipline as a character trait. The investor who holds through volatility has fortitude. The entrepreneur who reads every clause in a contract is diligent. Self-control, in this framing, is something you either possess or develop through sufficient motivation. This framing is not supported by the scientific literature. What Baumeister, Muraven, Voss, and their respective collaborators documented across more than a decade of research was not a character difference. They documented a resource dynamic. The same person who exercises rigorous judgment at 9 in the morning will, under conditions of accumulated decision load, exhibit measurably diminished judgment by 4 in the afternoon. This is not a failure of character. It is the functioning of a cognitive system operating within its documented constraints. B-roll CUE, office building exterior, morning light versus afternoon light contrast. Conventional professional wisdom also tends to reserve mornings for reactive operational tasks, email, administrative approvals, routine meetings, and the afternoon for strategic thinking. The logic is that mornings are for clearing the inbox and afternoons are for decisions that require reflection. The research inverts this entirely. Strategic financial decisions, capital allocation, contract review, investment evaluation, demand the highest quality of executive function available. They should command the first cognitive hours of the day, before the decision load from operational tasks has drawn down the resource those choices require. The standard financial planning meeting at 4 in the afternoon is not a neutral scheduling choice. It is structurally disadvantageous, and the evidence suggests the client bears the cost. Camera change. We have established the mechanism and examined the experimental evidence for its financial implications. The remaining question, and the more valuable one, is what the research actually prescribes. Because this body of work does not stop at diagnosis. The evidence points toward a specific set of structural interventions. Not motivational ones. Not willpower-based ones. Architectural ones, changes to when and how decisions are made, grounded in how the cognitive system actually functions. This is where the research becomes directly applicable. Graphic, three-component framework diagram. The framework that emerges from this body of research has three components. They are structural. They require no increase in motivation or willpower, they require a redesign of when and how decisions are made. The first component is temporal protection of high-stakes decisions. The evidence consistently points in one direction: consequential financial decisions, reviewing investment proposals, evaluating significant terms, signing contracts, should be scheduled in the first cognitive hours of the day, before decision load has had the opportunity to accumulate. B-roll CUE, professional at clean desk in morning light, reviewing documents with focus, no digital distractions. This is not a preference for chronotypes. It is a response to the neurological reality that the prefrontal cortex's capacity for systematic analysis depletes in proportion to the decisions already made. If your most consequential financial decision of the week is scheduled for Thursday at 4 in the afternoon, you are presenting your most complex judgment call to your most compromised cognitive state. The practical application is structural. Move financial review meetings to the 9 or 10 o'clock window. Schedule investment calls before operational tasks begin. If a counterparty consistently proposes late afternoon negotiation windows, recognize what cognitive asymmetry that arrangement produces, and request a morning alternative. Camera change. The second component is decision reduction. Muraven and colleagues demonstrated that the cognitive resource depletes through repeated self-controlled tasks regardless of the magnitude of individual decisions. Small choices draw from the same pool as large ones. The professional who makes 40 micro-decisions before noon, what to wear, which emails to open first, which routine requests to approve, what to order for lunch, arrives at the consequential financial decision of the day having already made substantial withdrawals against the cognitive budget that decision requires. The systematic response is pre-commitment. Remove low-stakes choices from the daily decision load through systematization and automation wherever possible. Research in this area suggests the cognitive capacity recovered by eliminating trivial choices has meaningful implications for the quality of subsequent high-stakes judgment. Graphic, daily decision audit, trivial choices versus consequential choices. B-roll CUE, minimalist organized workspace, structured calendar, simplified routine. The third component is structured recovery. The data from Danziger and colleagues revealed something beyond the depletion pattern. It revealed the reset. After the lunch break, judicial approval rates returned to their morning baseline. Recovery, under conditions of genuine cognitive rest, appears to restore the depleted resource. Tyler and Burns, in 2008, documented that rest and mental replenishment can mitigate decision fatigue's effects. This finding argues directly against the professional norm of working through lunch to clear the inbox. The midday break is not a productivity interruption. In cognitive terms, it is an investment in the quality of everything that follows. B-roll CUE, professional having lunch outside, natural environment, away from desk and screen. Research by Converse and Deschamps, in 2009, adds a further consideration: the effects of cognitive depletion can, in some conditions, persist beyond what subjectively feels like adequate rest. Chronically high decision load professionals, executives, active investors, entrepreneurs running operational businesses, may carry a cumulative deficit that single recovery periods do not fully address. The deliberate preservation of low decision periods across the week, not merely within each working day, may matter more than conventional time management frameworks have accounted for. Camera change. The synthesis is not complex, though implementing it runs counter to professional norms that have been built without reference to this research. Protect the morning for consequential decisions. Reduce the trivial to preserve cognitive capital. Recover deliberately, not incidentally. Your financial judgment is not simply a function of what you know or how motivated you are. It is a function of when and under what conditions you deploy the cognitive resource that makes that judgment possible, and whether the architecture of your working day protects that resource or squanders it before the decisions that most require it. Graphic, Neuro Wealth Company Channel Branding. The foundational research on decision fatigue from Baumeister, Muraven, and their colleagues is now more than 2 decades old. What has not kept pace is the financial profession's structural response to it. Every contract reviewed in a state of cognitive depletion. Every investment decision made at the wrong point in the daily decision cycle. Every negotiation entered without regard for what preceded it. The evidence does not ask for better intentions. It asks for better architecture. If this is the analysis you're looking for, evidence-grounded, direct, and applicable, subscribe. 1 video per week. Graphic, end screen overlay, subscribe button, next video card positioned upper right. Next week, we examine the asymmetry of loss. Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky's research on prospect theory explains with considerable precision why most portfolios underperform what the underlying assets should produce, and what the evidence suggests you do about it. That video is right here. Point directly at end screen card position, hold for 3 seconds, no wind down language.